All right. Welcome back to another episode, guys. I'm really excited about this one because we have the man, the myth, the legend, Julian Alexander. Welcome to the podcast, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I'm excited to get started today.
All right, guys. So crazy story, really quick. I hope you're ready for this because I'm gonna ask you some tough questions. We're gonna go back, but I'm really excited about this because if you have seen this guy before. You have seen him in two places. You have seen him on your newsfeed or in your story, and it's usually because of an advertisement. And it is probably one of the best ads I've ever seen in my life. And we're going to dive into that a little bit. But you are a world traveler. You're a videographer, a photographer. You work with massive brands and models, and you get to do that for a living. So welcome to the podcast. And let's dive into it. First of all, what brought you to Bali? So we're in Bali right now. What brought you here?
For me, honestly, work-life balance.
Okay.
I've been working for the past year in LA, kind of just locked myself up in my apartment in order to like build out this business idea that I had. And now that everything's kind of like functioning, I decided that I needed a little bit more of a balanced life and get some social momentum back. So I feel like
in the rice fields.
Yeah.
Cool. And for people that do not know who you are, just what's your background? Who are you? Who do you identify as? And what's your story? Tell us.
Oh, it's a good question.
Start way back. Let's start at the beginning.
At the beginning.
The beginning. In the beginning.
All right. Well, from the very, very start, I was born in Holland and.
Really?
Ja.
Spreek Nederlands?
Ja, ik spreek Nederlands.
Oh, that's crazy.
Ja.
Ik heb geen idee.
Grappig.
Klein beetje Duits.
Dat is best wel goed.
Yeah. So you speak fluent Dutch?
Ja, natuurlijk wel. Yeah.
Okay.
Anyways, so
go ahead.
Born in Holland. My mom's Dutch.
Yeah.
So I grew up over there, moved to Los Angeles when I was like 7, and when I was a kid, I kind of moved around a lot. So went to a different elementary school in a different city, and then different middle school, different high school. Pretty much for every time I would go to a new school, we ended up moving for some particular reason. So I was always like forced to make new friends and kind of like adapt to like the new environment, which was kind of like a little taste of like what traveling would be like. And maybe that's part of the reason why I started traveling, because even in those little like suburb areas, the way that everyone thought from city to city was so different. So I always felt like from a young age I had like this third person perspective on like just like mindset, how people thought, because everyone just thinks so differently. And when I was 18 or 19, me and my best friend were going to college. We kind of wanted to like try something different. We weren't really sure what it was yet. And then my friend Mitch met this Chinese lady in an Uber pool. Long story short, like he ends up getting offered an internship by this lady that he met just in an Uber pool. And he flies out there a few months later, and then he calls me. He's like, yo, I'm doing this internship, but honestly, like, teaching English, that's what we need to do out here. I'm like, okay, I'll be there next month. And I pretty much just finished up my semester at college, flew over to China, and, my parents were like, oh, well, are you going to go back to college? I'm like, yeah, probably. I had no idea what I was in for yet. And I knew that college was always going to be there. I was working at a restaurant and doing valet at the time. That's always going to be there. There's really no risk in it for me. Worst that could happen is I'm back at square one. Best case scenario is I have an epic trip and it changes my life. And, moving to China, like, it's a pretty far off place that most people probably can't even imagine what it's like.
Where in China?
Beijing.
Beijing?
Yeah.
So you've done the Great Wall and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Crazy.
So I lived there for a year, and that's where I picked up my first camera. And then I also had a few friends that, we'd go to the Great Wall, we'd go do these cool things. And obviously, since it was my first trip abroad, I was like, okay, I'm going to get a camera. I'm going to like document this and just do it for fun. From there, that's when I really fell into videography and photography, and within like the first month I was stuck on YouTube, stuck reading all the forums, like 12 hours a day, every single day, just trying to learn as much as I could. And then after I think only 3 or 4 months, I was like, okay, it's time to go back to LA. LA is the hub for media. If I'm going to do anything with this, I'm going to do it in LA. So I moved back, pretty much try and learn as much as I could, push myself as hard as I could, really try and like just get better at my skill. And within about 3 or 4 months, landed my first gig traveling with a few a few YouTubers over to Bali, and then we went from Bali to Thailand.
And how did you land that gig? For someone that's listening and they're starting out, what was something that you did? Was it just happenstance, or you were connected with the right people? Like what?
I think when you put enough energy into anything, the right people and the right events will attract towards you.
Yeah.
So when I first came back to LA, my plan was like, okay, I'm just gonna play the numbers game. You know, I want to make money doing film and photo. You know, I know that I have to like eat shit for a little bit, so I'll go into real estate agencies, I'll go to events, I'll go write emails, and if I walk into 20 businesses a day, and if I go to this many events a week, and you know, write these many emails, I'm bound to land at least, you know, worst case scenario, if I get like 1 or 2%, you know, and do that every single day, I'll make some money.
So you already had that mentality. So that's actually really important, right? In business success or in entrepreneurship, you have to understand the numbers game.
Yeah, exactly.
So you were able to conceptualize that and do that.
Yeah. So
that's cool. So from there, what happened next?
So
from the trip with the YouTubers.
Yeah. So from there, I mean, everything just kind of like one thing led to another. I ended up meeting somebody in Bali who had a gig in Australia. From Australia, I met somebody who had a gig in Mexico. Then I went to Mexico, and then from Mexico, I had like another gig in Europe, went over there. And then throughout that whole time period, I also met a lot of the people that actually inspired me to get into film and photography when I was living in China. So
like all the people that you watched on YouTube.
Yeah.
You met them.
Exactly.
Crazy.
And that's also part of the reason why I moved back to LA. I'm like, this is where everyone lives. You know, if I want to meet these people, my best chance at meeting these people is me moving to LA. Yeah. And it worked. You know, I went back to LA right around the same time. I was like ready to, you know, move into like the center of LA, like West Hollywood area. This kid posted a story. He's like, hey, I'm looking for a roommate. This kid, Brendan Hayward, who's super well connected with everyone in that industry, sent him a DM. I was like, oh, he's not going to respond. And he did. He responded.
Boom.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah.
Christian was showing me a graph earlier, which was like the rate at which if you actually make the action and ask, like you never know, right?
You never know.
Take it.
You never know. Yeah, exactly. So, moved in with him, started meeting a lot of people, learned a lot throughout working with that entire crowd, like how brand deals work, how, you know, the whole money-making aspect works when it comes to like traveling instead of like not just doing, you know, wedding and real estate shoots and stuff like that.
Which are super tiring. I did a bunch of wedding videography actually, like way back.
Yeah.
Are you glad you're not doing those anymore?
No, I actually never did a wedding, thank God.
Oh my goodness.
Stressful. So stressful.
What was the most stressful event that you ever shot?
That's a good question. Probably music video.
Okay.
Music video for sure. Yeah, it's so high paced. You have to be there like 6 a.m. Yeah. You're shooting sunrise to sundown. Yeah. It's an all-day event.
With a crew, and it's just...
No, I was handling the whole thing by myself. It was like a small gig. Yeah, it's just me. Yeah.
It's like the early on gigs. So let's continue with the story. So you moved in with this guy. Yeah. Then what?
From there, I kind of met everyone. I started learning how to approach brands, get brand deals. Did that for a while, and I was getting some work, but I realized that the way that everyone was like approaching this was just it wasn't very efficient. You know, everyone was doing things manually, and like I said, I went on this trip prior with a few YouTubers. Those YouTubers were e-commerce YouTubers. So
boom, boom.
Yeah, exactly. So I kind of like connected the two dots. I was like, okay, all right, these kids are, you know, they're using like
making money.
They're making money, obviously. They're making a lot more money than my artistic friends. They're using automation. They're, you know, using the internet.
They're building businesses.
They're building things that, you know, don't require them to physically put in time to make money. So with artists, the main way to get work is just to grow on Instagram. Yeah. That's pretty much like everyone's main focus is I'm going to grow on Instagram and then brands are going to sponsor me.
It's like success attracts success.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's like, how can you really control that outcome? You can't really control growing on Instagram. That's really like throwing all your eggs in one basket.
Well, I mean, you can't, like, you can't say that because you are.
Now I am, but that's
Before.
because I learned the marketing side
Right,
of things, you
right.
know?
Okay, yeah. So for most artists, it's very hard to.
They think I'm just gonna post and post and post and create as much content as I possibly can. Hopefully, like, one of my posts goes viral, and then I'm set.
Which is like that's like the
Yeah.
the 0.0001% of posts
Exactly.
that get.
Exactly. So I kind of saw that, and I was like, okay, like, I've been doing this for a while. I've been posting content. I've been creating content, but it's too out of my control, and that doesn't make me feel okay. You know, I need to do something that puts me back in control, where, you know, I'm willing to put in the work. You know, that's not a problem for me, as long as I know that I'll get the outcome that I want. So that's when I decided to learn some of like Instagram automation stuff to see if I can get control of that, at least growing my Instagram account. That kind of led me to understand marketing a little bit, because it's kind of the same. And from there, I jumped into Facebook ads, and
the tunnel, the rabbit hole of marketing online leading into. That's pretty cool. So you became obsessed with reaching that next level of sustainability, growth, freedom, we could say, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Let's pause there for a second. Let's go to what was an area in your life? Did you ever, like, as entrepreneurs, we always go through, you know, ups and downs, and not necessarily entrepreneurs, but just people that are looking for an alternative or a new system to chase freedom. Was there a time in your life that was there like a really rough defining point in your life at all that you had to deal with mentally, spiritually, physically? What was there any stories that you have?
For sure. I think like my whole childhood, you know, both of my parents never really made a lot of money.
Yeah.
So I always, that was always in the back of my mind, you know, like, they're always complaining about money. And so from a young age, I was always like, okay, I need to make money. So, you know, when I was in middle school, I think like 6th or 7th grade, I would go to the 99-cent store. I'd get candy bars.
Let's go.
Yeah. I would get candy bars, and then I found this, like, it was like a fake coupon for a free 4-pack of Monster Energy and a free 4-pack of Red Bull on Google. And I would print them out every single day before school, and I'd ride my bike to school, go to CVS, and, you know, I'd pick up like a free 4-pack of Monster, free 4-pack of Red Bull. Obviously, after a month, they'd be like, "Hey, man, these aren't really, you can't use these anymore." So I'd go to like Albertsons across the street.
Yeah.
And every day to school, I would show up, a bunch of sodas, a bunch of candy.
You were a hustler, man.
Yeah, I would hustle, you know. And you know, I made a little bit of money back in middle school, and from there on, you know, went to high school. People were breaking their iPhones back then all the time. I don't think the phone screens were that strong back then. So then I would start fixing iPhones, and
the podcast that we just did earlier. I did the exact same thing.
Yeah.
I would order it from like a site online in China.
Yeah, it's like $5.
Yeah, and then they sell it for like $100 bucks. Anyway,
Exactly.
crazy. So you're a hustler. So do you believe? So the whole debate behind whether an entrepreneur it's all about DNA, or do you think an entrepreneur can be made? Do you think that you had that innate drive to solve problems? And
could have been DNA, but it also could have been, like I said, it could have been environment, you know.
Yeah.
I've had that stress from early on, you know, so I always felt like I needed to make money.
Yeah. You had that push.
Yeah. So I mean,
and how does it feel now that you're obviously making a lot of cash? How does it feel now to be able to travel Bali, travel the world, and live a sustainable lifestyle, like, and make more than everybody that you used to be around? Like, how does that feel? How does that mental, like, what is that feeling for you?
Still hard to wrap my head around.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I feel like the drive never stops. You know, there's still goals I want to reach. You know, like I said, I didn't come from a family with a lot of money, so I don't want to only support myself. I really want to like support like my family. I'm not there yet. You know, I mean, there are definitely like more things that I want to work towards, but the fact that I'm able to live here in Bali and really focus on the things that make me the happiest, such as, you know, exercise, physical fitness, pushing my limits, both physically and mentally, I feel extremely blessed. And all I have to say to that is hard work does pay off.
Cool. Hard work does pay off.
Yeah.
And so, this goes into what keeps you motivated to do that hard work every single day? Like, do you have people that keep you accountable? Are you a pretty self-driven person? Like, how do you How do you maintain that continuous drive to work hard?
Good question. I feel like the past year it's been such a big change because as an artist, back when I was shooting every day, it was my mindset was way different. I was more so focused on, you know, like I said, posting, getting content out there, and it's like very instant things that you're working towards.
Yeah.
Whereas the business was like a long-term thing. So I really had to go through like a big shift of like working on, you know, my discipline, my morning routines, just my overall rituals and like work habits. And just over the past year, really like diving into business, diving into like people that inspire me through books and other podcasts. That's really like changed my mindset and kept me going.
Cool. And for someone listening, if someone's listening right now or watching and they're in a position in their life where they're like, okay, I want to make that next step, or I want to go towards, I want to put in the hard work, but I don't know how to put in the hard work. What is something that they can do, or what advice would you give to them to be like, okay, you need to do this and this and this, and it will pay off?
Just a willingness to learn. I feel like so many times people ask me for advice and I tell them exactly what to do, and they don't, like, I'll tell them, like, read this book, you know, listen to these podcasts, and they just won't even take the time because they don't think it's going to work or something, you know? It's like, you really have to be willing to learn. It doesn't happen overnight, you know, like, but books have literally changed my life. You know, I used to say, oh, I hate reading. You know, I used to be one of those people. And then now that I started reading the right books, you know, not the books they give you in school, because those textbooks suck. You know, they're boring. But once you start reading about subjects that actually interest you and you realize how fun it is to learn and just develop knowledge about something, you get addicted to it. And then from there, it kind of goes to the moon.
Yeah, and I can relate on so many levels for that. And I would say, too, it's like you have to follow and consume the right things and the right people, right? Because it's like if you are following the wrong people, it's the same thing. Like if you're consuming just entertainment, you're not learning.
Oh, 100%. You have to be productive. Yeah.
And then if you're not following the right people or the right, like, there's so much. It's like right now online. Like if I go and search anything, there's a million different voices on every single subject. What would you say to that?
Yeah, something that I've realized a lot is that there's just so much noise out there in the world nowadays, and the number one thing that helped me be extremely productive this past year and helped me get to the point where you're now obviously reaching out to me. This wouldn't have been possible if I didn't spend a massive amount of time alone. You know, I cut out my social life, I cut out you know, partying, I cut out a lot of things, and just through spending a lot of time alone, like, I go weeks without seeing friends, you know, compared to like being with friends every single day. And just that time alone forces you to kind of like reflect on who you are, what you want in life. And I feel like most people don't even get the chance to sit down and chill for a minute and think about what they really want. Yeah, that's the number one thing.
I think that too. I think the greatest advice I ever got was travel alone. Like travel alone, and then also on that point, be alone. Like you have to take a step back to realize like what direction you want to go into, right? And then especially when you're learning too, like everybody can relate to this, is like when you study with friends, there's like so many distractions. Like when you need to get something done, you have to lock yourself out and do that.
It's not easy, you know? I mean, there's so many days where my friends are like, dude, you need to chill, bro. You're working too hard, you know? Come on, hang out with us for a weekend. And it's like, oh, no, I can't, you know? And then I was so in my fitness back then, too. I'd go out and party, and I'd just drink water, you know? People are like, I'll take a shot. I'm like, no. No. I can't sacrifice it, you know? Now
that's commitment.
Yeah, you know? I mean, and I feel like I was talking to somebody about this the other day. I feel like when you first start something, you have to be all in. You know, there's no exceptions. But then after you build that habit, after, you know, maybe a year of doing it, you know, you can be a little bit more flexible about it. Like when I first started going to the gym, set my alarm, right? Wake up 5:45, go to the gym, jump rope 15 minutes, you know, 7:45 to 8, work out 8 to like this time. Now it's like, you know, I have my routine. I'm not that strict about it. I'm like, oh, I want to finish my coffee first, then I'll go. You know? But before it was like super strict, and you have to do that in order to develop that habit.
What do you do to maintain this? what do you do to maintain this?
I mean, I work out every single day. You know,
Consistency.
I have to work out every day, just to like feel good. It really does boost my day. I had one day here in Bali that I didn't go to the gym because I was having allergies, and it was even worse. You know, I feel like going to the gym just makes my allergies, you know, kind of go away. And I mean, personally, like my whole routine, I usually wake up, you know, around 6-ish. Coffee in the morning for me, that's a must.
Do you do like intermittent fasting, or what do you do?
So I work out fasted. I don't like, you know, a lot of people do intermittent fasting. They have like a strict like, oh, start at 12 and end at 8.
Yeah.
I just work out fasted, and then my first meal is like a protein smoothie with, you know, like coconut oil, spirulina, moringa powder, like all these superfoods.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like my first meal. And then I don't really eat like a whole meal until like 2 or 3 p.m. Just because I find that I function a little bit better and work better when I'm not completely stuffed with food.
Yeah.
So I work for a bit, then I'll eat my like real meal around 2 or 3 p.m. and then now that I'm in Bali, I'll get to go out with friends and have dinner and actually socialize with people.
Right.
In LA, it was a little bit harder. But yeah, just stay active, exercise every day. I try and like really push myself when it comes to like, you know, for example, I used to say I hate running, you know, and I was listening to this Joe Rogan podcast.
Yo, I hate running.
I hate running. That's what I said, you know. And
I like surfing, but I hate running.
And I was listening to this Joe Rogan podcast, and he's like, man, I can't stand it when people say like, oh, I can't run. You know, it's like, of course you can't run. You don't fucking run, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm like, damn, that's totally me, you know. So then like literally that day, started running like 5K every single day, and then now every time I go to the gym, I'm running 5K.
On the treadmill?
Yeah, on the treadmill. I usually run outside, but here in Bali, it's freaking
toasty. Toasty.
Yeah. So I'm trying to run a marathon this year.
Whoa.
So
Cool.
yeah, I mean that's
Nice.
a big thing for me because like I said, I'm not a runner. So
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool, and it's cool to hear that you like are consuming the right things. You're eating, like you said, the
Yeah.
superfoods, and it's pretty simple too.
goes
like,
hand in hand with business for me.
Oh, it is crazy. I think it's really crucial too. It's about having the balance between like your mind, the body,
Yeah.
and spirituality. And for me, I've always been pretty insecure about my body, and I don't have like a ripping six pack, but I'm working on it. But I think there's so much attraction to like these really complicated things, right? Like
Yeah.
in business, I would say the same thing. There's always so many complicated strategies, tactics, businesses to make it. In like also eating too. It's like there's so many diets, there's so many
Yeah.
pills, there's so many things. And I think I believe there's power in simplicity, and now I'm really working and focusing on like it really comes down to energy in versus energy out.
Yeah.
Right? So staying active, eating the right
Eating
things.
the right things. Yeah.
Yeah. So
And like I said, for me, I mean, everyone's different, but for me, I really have to dive into things like I said, no exceptions, like brutally to the T.
which is hard to do.
Yeah, like, you know, I did that with my business and then with health too.
Yeah.
You know, I did vegan, then I did keto, then I did vegan keto, then I probably did a few other diets too. And then after a while, you kind of realize, okay, this is what works best for me. But you really just have to like do something completely polarizing to what you're currently doing to see the other side of things and find where you fall in the
Have you ever done a water fast? This is something.
Yeah, I did like a 3-day water fast
Woo!
before.
Have you ever done
Yeah.
longer?
No, 3
No.
days is the longest I've gone. I was talking to this guy Lance the other day. He's done like a 23-day
Oh
fast.
man, I
was
did
like,
8 days.
Oh my god,
I did
that's
8 days, and that
intense.
was intense. But I felt like the 1, 2, and 3, day 1, 2, and 3, those are the hardest. And then it was like euphoric
Really?
because it was just like
That's what I've heard. Yeah.
it's crazy,
Yeah.
crazy. Would you do something like that again or not?
I don't know. I was so lethargic all those 3 days. I couldn't get anything done. That was
Yeah.
the only thing that kind of like.
Energy really drops at the beginning.
Yeah.
So,
So.
yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Cool. So tell me about what do you want to do now? Like, so you're in Bali. I feel like you created this course, which we'll talk about in a bit. You have figured out some things in life. What are some things that you want to achieve or do in the near future, let's say the next year? What is something that you want to do? Like, what drives you?
So I really want to take this to the next level. That's the first big goal. You know, so many artists out there post all this amazing content. It's so inspiring, and that's why I started too. I got inspired by this, you know. And the thing was, it was so hard to figure out, and I really want to like kind of like take that barrier out and get more people on board, right? Like big people who are very influential, and instead of just like inspiring people, like actually give them some type of advice that they can use and like at least maybe learn from, you know. I mean, because you know, I mean, everyone's different, but if I could at least understand how this particular person got to the point that they were at, that would have helped me out a lot. And in the artistic community, at least, there's not a lot of that. You know, they're very closed off. They're kind of secretive about what they do, and I kind of want to
Disrupt the industry.
Yeah.
Have you got any like negative backlash about the things that you're doing? Because what you've done, and for those of you guys who are listening or watching, you created a course.
Yeah.
And in this course, you literally peel back, you open the curtains on
Everything I do.
you.
And, yeah.
You just
Yeah.
because I feel like there's such, even for me, there's such a facade of like, wow, this is like untouchable, right?
Yeah.
Like this whole lifestyle, freedom, everything. And what you've done is you've created this course and said, hey, look, I'm giving everything that I have learned. Have you gotten some negative feedback from other creators that are like,
Yeah.
what are you doing? You're just creating more. You're creating more like competition for us.
In the beginning, it's funny. In the beginning, I did, but like I said, also I was kind of sitting in my LA apartment, focused on work.
Yeah.
So people didn't really know who I was, and it's funny because now I come out here to Bali, and I swear, every single person I meet here, every single person I've met here. Oh yeah, I've seen you. You're the ads guy. You know, I've seen
Yeah,
you.
let's go.
But then we're friends. You know,
Yeah.
like they might have this like predisposed conception of
Yeah.
who I am just because they've seen my ads. But then they get to know me, and we're all good friends now. You know,
Yeah.
we hang out, we have dinner every night, and you know, they'll joke about, oh, you need to get out of my feed. You know,
Yeah.
it's probably kind of annoying to see my ads
Yeah,
5
for sure.
times a day. But yeah, I mean, it's a little. Most of the feedback's positive, and it's funny because I get feedback from both business owners that are
Yeah.
like, hey, I want to make an ad like that. You know,
Yeah.
can you help me out with that?
Yeah.
And then I get feedback from content creators that are like, yo, this totally resonates with me.
Mhm.
So I've gotten both, and then also I've gotten other creators that are like, yo, this is the bullshit, you know?
Yeah.
And the thing is I feel like most of the people that talk shit,
Yeah.
they, from what I can see in the comment, it's such surface level information.
Yeah.
Like, you know, they don't even look into anything you have to offer, and
This-
they just want to jump to conclusions.
Yeah, exactly. And I would say too, like one thing that I have always told myself in everything that I do is, and I can see this in my own life, and this has come from like more awareness from the things that I've done, which is every time that I've quit on something, every time that I've quit on anything, I start to hate on that thing.
Yeah.
So every time, like for instance, if I am like not like super hate, but just like surface level, like for instance, if I have a goal for something and then I totally just abandon it, then I will start to be like, oh, that's not for me. Or the people that are doing that, like for
Yeah.
instance, people that are obsessed with their body, I would say like, oh my goodness, they're just so self-absorbed, right? And I think the same thing with when you're running ads, the people that are saying, hey, this is BS or this is this garbage, this is what they truly desire. Like they truly desire to have what you have.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, is that the way that I've approached and succeeded as like an artist is so different from the way that everyone else is doing it. So a lot of people, I don't think they understand it. You know, for me personally, like I started out working with brands. I still work with brands like when I want to work with them and it's a fun project. But now I have the liberty to choose those, and I have my own business that supports me. And for some reason, you know, I get all these artists that are, you know, they're stuck grinding, you know, putting in hours every single day, manual labor, and they see this and it works and it's just different from what everyone else is doing. So they just try and find reasons to hate on it since it's different. You
Which
know?
is true, which is true, and it's a sad, but it's a reality because all it would take is for them to just take a small step in curiosity.
And that's the sad part, is because those people have the most potential.
Exactly.
The most potential.
Exactly.
They're already crushing it, and if they just made these few little changes, oh my God, they
It's
would crush
crazy.
it.
I say the same thing too, because like one of the biggest things for me is I'm always talking about community, always building your team, and I see all these people that are in branding, in my space, in marketing, and they're 1-man, 2-man shows, and they're hating on other people that are trying to say, hey, listen, you need to start building out your community in everything that you do, and it's like they have the most potential to inspire people.
Yeah.
And like they've got every skill that they need.
Yeah.
They just need to take the step and have a little bit of curiosity for that. So let's talk a little bit about this, because I'm pretty curious on I don't know if you want to share a ton, but maybe if you can give a couple gold nuggets for me and our following from your course and everything that you've laid out.
Sure.
So what is, if someone is starting out, they've never picked up a camera before, or they picked up a camera before, what are a couple things that they need to that you go into a little bit?
Okay. The thing is, the course that I have right now is mainly focused for people who are creating content, and they've been doing it for a while, but they're having problems breaking that barrier of like doing it full time, actually making an income doing it.
Cool.
I think the very first step is obviously getting good at what you do. You know, develop your skill. And that's one thing too that I've learned is that when you master one thing, like it took me years to master like filmmaking and photography.
Yeah.
But then once I learned how to actually learn a skill, you can hop into other things, you know? So like, oh, like that's how you learn, you know? You go through like months of research, you practice, you know, you do this, this, and this. And now I know how to do that thing. And you can kind of model that learning process and apply it to other things. Like, you know, now I've learned how to market. I've learned.
Yeah, you're in why for guys, we were just talking a little bit before, and I asked you like, okay, did you have a partner who helped you build this? Because it's very rare that there's a hyper creative artist that is able to do this.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's not common. Yeah.
It's not common.
I mean, for some reason, business, but that's what I'm trying to teach.
That's
in my
what you're
course.
breaking.
Yes, that like
That's phenomenal.
For some reason, like business and creativity, people think that they shouldn't go well
It's
together.
like dying a starving artist, right?
Exactly. You know,
like,
and
that shouldn't be the case.
No. I'm like, if you want to be a successful artist, you have to understand the business stuff.
Yeah.
And what I try and tell people is like, listen, like you've developed this skill, you've mastered it for years. You already have a creative eye. You know what looks good visually. Trust me, like you know how to make a website. You know, like for me, building out a website, it took me like a few months to learn how to build a website that people started offering me thousands of dollars to build them websites for as well. Yeah. You know, and I wasn't a website developer, I was just a photographer, but I knew what looked good visually. Right. So I picked up this other skill and then picked up marketing. And essentially, I feel like you learn how to learn, you know? And that's the first step is mastering one thing. If that's film and photography, then, you know, start with that. With the course, it really depends where you want to go because I teach three things. I teach people how to get clients, how to get brand deals, and how to build their own business as an artist. So it depends on which one of those three things you want to do.
That's what they need.
Yeah.
That's all they need.
And it's in chronological steps too because especially when it comes to building your own business, you need to have experience, right? So you have to start off working with some clients, and then from clients, you'll start to be able to get some brand deals. And then once you have a sick portfolio put together with those two, then you can really start to build your own business. You know, so it really is like a step-by-step process. And
you give and it's simple, yet you need to do the right things, and you need to have the blueprint in order to get it done and be successful in it. And that's what you go in and you unravel in your course.
And there's a lot of things that I've learned over the years. Like I said, I did Instagram automation for a while. I dove into, you know, black hat, white hat, all these different like, you know, like
probably not a lot of people know this, but like black hat marketing, white hat marketing.
Yeah,
it's like the gray area, the things that you, should I do this? Am I allowed to do this?
Yeah,
I don't know. Can I do this?
Exactly. So I've looked into all of it and I've tried so many things like, you know, SEO, all these things that were just a complete waste of my time. And then I just found a few things that worked, right? Like the ads that I'm running, they just work, you know? And I started off, like I have my whole course too. It's not just like where I show you how to do this, you know? I actually have case studies in there. I'm like, look, this is how I'm doing this. I actually build this with you and it works. And I'm showing you, like everything's screen recorded. Like, you know, we're setting up this ad. This is how I make the ad. Then I throw it in Facebook, you know, bada bing, bada boom. Everything kind of like comes in. And it's a really different take on how to get business as a filmmaker and a photographer. Because like I said, I traveled with all these e-commerce kids. Yeah. They're running ads. They're making like boatloads of money.
You probably saw that and you're just like,
and it was, I'm like, dude, how, like, and the thing was they were younger than I was. They were like 2-3 years younger than me. They're making like, you know, 6-7 figures, whatever. Yeah, it's crazy. And it just seemed so easy. And I was like, this doesn't make sense, you know? Yeah.
So. And so now you're doing crazy story, Christian, the camera guy. Christian, you're running ads right now, right?
Yeah.
Hey, yo! So Christian, we've been shooting for a bit, and I started out in ads, and then Christian's like, Dan, can you teach me how to do this ads? And he's running ads profitably.
Yeah.
So anybody can do it if you have the right training and the right skills and an open mind.
Exactly. Yeah. I just had you know, I mean, I've been running the course for about 3 months now, so it's pretty new. But just last week, I had my first student that actually was able to get everything running. And posted in the Facebook group. He's like, yo, I set everything up. I just launched my first ad, you know, following the techniques. And I got 100 leads out of, I don't know how many of those converted, but they converted into about 10K in sales for him and profit of work, you know? And it's just like,
whoa.
Yeah. And it's,
but it's there. Like,
exactly.
You just got to do it.
Yeah, exactly. You have to put in the work. And that's the thing too.
It's not easy.
It's not easy. You got to put in the work.
It's easy, but it's not easy, right? It's like, it can be done.
Exactly.
But you have to. So who should not take your course? This is my favorite question. Who should not take your course? This is a part where you can't be selfish. You can't be like, it's for everybody.
No.
Who should not take your course?
People that don't have discipline.
Okay, number
Yeah.
one. Got anything else? That's a very really strong one though.
Yeah, if you don't have discipline and if you're not at least decent, you know, I mean, you have to be able to like look at your work and be like, will people
Self-critical.
actually? Yeah, you have to be able to criticize yourself. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, it took me a long time to get there, where I was like making videos, and it took a lot of other people telling me like, yo, like you can make money doing this. I'm like,
Yeah.
are you sure? I don't think I'm there yet. They're like, no, trust me, like people will pay you for this. So I did some research, looked at other filmmakers, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm better than he is, and if he's making money, I can do it, you know? So you have to be realistic. You have to, you know, obviously be able to critique your own work.
Yeah. And you have to be ambitious, and you have to dream a little bit.
Oh,
too.
yeah. I mean, if you have a self-limiting belief system, yeah, no.
I think that's the biggest thing. Like believing that you can do it is super crucial.
Yeah.
Because our whole world is telling you can't.
Yeah, I think it's good you bring that up, because for me,
Tell me.
I remember the first time I took that risk, that was China for me, you know? It was just a huge...
China's crazy.
Yeah, and it was something so different. I mean, you can imagine I grew up in this little town where all my friends went to the same high school their parents went to high school at. And I tell my friends, I'm like, I'm moving to China, you know? Everyone thought like I was never going to come back. They're like, what are you doing in China, right? They thought I was crazy. Now, years later, they look at me and they're like, yo, I wish I would have went with you. That was actually really cool. And they're all stuck, like, you know, either as electricians or plumbers or like, you know, my community was like a lot of blue collar jobs.
Yeah.
And
I come from a farming
Yeah,
family,
yeah.
a Dutch farming family in outside of Toronto. That's why like my heritage is Dutch
Yeah.
Brazilian.
Oh,
So
that's
like
sick.
that, yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy. But yeah, it's so true. It's,
yeah, and
everybody around you was just
Yeah.
stuck in that.
Yeah, and it's like after you take that first risk, you realize it's not that scary.
Yeah.
And then you start to take another risk, and then you think
Then it gets scary a little bit sometimes.
yeah, but then you get addicted, and then you're like,
Oh.
oh, this is fun. What,
Yeah,
like, how
yeah.
far can I push it?
Yeah,
You know?
it's just like, well, yeah, I'll come on Daniel Phillips' podcast. Why not? No,
Exactly.
that's really cool. And this is a crazy. I want to ask you this question, from the friends that you had before. So when I started in e-commerce a few years back, I was so excited. It blew my mind. I'm like, this is possible. And I went home and I invited every single one of my friends, because I was like, this is the end all be all. This is how you
Yeah.
get freedom. And I went home, and only a couple of my friends, joined. I was like, I'm gonna show you everything
Yeah.
like that. And it was like a smack of reality for me. Like, wow, like some people just don't want it, or
Yeah.
don't think they want it. Like
they just
how
don't
mu-
believe it's possible.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm proof. I'm like the beacon.
Yeah.
And I had, like, from when you started seeing the success of after China, and after you started shooting, and starting booking all these gigs and working with brands, did you ever try to help some of your friends and they just kind of?
I have one really close friend. That's my best friend, Mitch, that I moved to China with.
Yeah.
But other than that, like I said, I really never had that group of friends that I grew up with, because
Yeah.
I moved around so much
Yeah.
when I was little. So
I've got my best friend who's Sebastian. He's
Yeah.
he's my second cousin. He's
So-
also in e-commerce and stuff. So
Yeah.
you didn't have that. You have one
I
good
have-
friend, and he's doing the same thing now. What's he?
No, he's actually still in China teaching English.
Oh, come on, Mitch.
No,
come on.
he's coming. He's coming.
Is he
He's
coming?
Yeah.
Oh, Mitch, come on. We're gonna
Yeah.
Mitch. We're gonna get Mitch on the podcast
Yeah.
once he starts making the money.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. So he brought you to China. Now you're bringing him to Bali.
Yep.
Wow, it's crazy
Yep,
how
yep.
things work.
So
What's the plan for Mitch?
So
Did he take the course?
no. Well, I gave him the course.
You
He's ta- he's ta-
shouldn't have given him the course.
Oh.
Do you think he actually?
Yeah.
You think?
Yeah, he will.
All right. Come
He's,
on,
he's a
Mitch,
hard
we'll
worker.
see.
He's a hard worker.
Okay, we'll
yeah.
see.
He actually moved up as a teacher in China, so he had
Wow.
at this point other teachers working for him, and he was kind of like just an agent.
Oh,
and he was
man.
making like residual income, right? Bringing all these Americans
yeah.
in now, like kind of doing what he did with me, but like
He's like the
profiting.
puppet
Yeah,
master.
exactly.
Mitch the puppet
But
master.
since that whole virus thing came on, like
Yo, we
yeah.
got hit heavy. Every
Yeah.
e-commerce, if you're in e-commerce right now and dropshipping, anything like
Yeah.
that, you feel the pain, because we felt the pain
Yeah.
heavy.
He's feeling the pain too. Everyone,
Oh,
all
man.
of his teachers that were working
Shut
underneath
down.
him, they left. He's like, oh, like my whole business just kind of like got shut down. So and during the same time, like the past year, he's seen me kind of like go through my little evolution, and he's like, yeah, I want to do that. I think it's time to get out of China. So he's coming here. He's still doing online teaching, so he'll be able to do that from here. Yeah. And then he'll kind of like learn under my wing.
He could teach people how to teach English online. He could build a course around that.
He was, and I was telling him he should do that because a lot of people like it. For me, China, that was such an easy move. Like you pretty much, you land in China, if you're American or if you speak English natively, you're guaranteed at least like 4K a month, 5K a month.
Which is like, amazing.
And in China especially, like your cost of living is like a fourth of what it is in LA. Yeah. So like when we were living out there, it felt like we were kings. You know, we'd go out to the club, we'd party, we'd have, this crazy time. And we were getting like, jobs thrown at us left and right. They need English out there. So you land, you're getting paid. And just like educating people on like how to get around town, how to actually contact the schools, stuff like that. But right now with the virus, nobody wants to learn how to go to China. So,
but online is really, because we just had a guest called Clara, and she is Spanish. She's from Spain, and that's what she does. She teaches English online, which is it's pretty crazy. Yeah. So anything is possible. So let's pull things back. If someone wants to take your course, if someone wants to do what you do, what would you tell them before they actually go in and take your course? Like before, what do they need? How do they should prepare before they go into your course?
Personally, or like actually for the?
Yeah, personally.
I mean, first of all, check out the entire website. Make sure it's something that works for you. Yep. I don't want to get anybody in there with like, some predisposed conception of like what this is going to be. Yeah. It's business. It's business, and I don't want you to hop in there and think it's like a filmmaking course, because it's not. Yeah. It's not like another video where I'm going to teach you how to do cool transitions. Yeah. It's like a video.
Because you did that before, right? You used to sell presets, or you still do?
Oh, I sold presets. Yeah. Okay. But for filmmaking and like the creative stuff, I'm like, you can find that stuff on YouTube for free. Yeah. It's a little scattered, so now people are still coming to me anyways, and like, hey, I want to learn like the filmmaking stuff from you. I'm like, all right, well, if you're asking for it, like, I'll put something together, and I'm working on that right now. Okay, cool. Back in my villa. Nice. Also, for a lot of businesses that are like, hey, we want to learn how to make ads the way that you make ads. Yeah. So I'm going to make it kind of like a hybrid for both content creators and businesses, to show them like how I get inspired, how I like come up with the idea for a video, and then how I actually execute on it. But for the course, just obviously be self-critical, make sure that you're at the point that you can sell your work and make money from it. And if you're at that point, then I think my course would be an insane amount of value to you. Yeah. But you have to be willing to put in the work. That's the number one thing. Cool.
All right, guys. So I feel like we could talk here for hours and hours and hours, because you have so many stories, and we'll probably do this again for sure in the future. What we talked about earlier is we have got a special deal. For my followers, if you are in, like, a lot of you guys are creatives, if you want to take your game to the next level and start to make real money and start to have the freedom to travel around, then you should definitely take this course. So what we've done is we put a link down below the podcast or the video that will take you to a special offer that Julian will hook up for you guys. And listen, the thing is I don't bring on any person on this podcast, all right? And even before we talked a little bit, and it's really cool to hear Julian's story. And dude, it's crazy that you are an artist and you've figured out the business aspect of it. Yeah. And I think that every artist, there should not be a thing called a starving artist. There should not be a starving artist out there. There should not.
No. What I tell people too is like, you can't have a functioning business without creativity, right? Like, you need to have a creative aspect in order to like be able to brand yourself and stand out from the rest of the world. Yeah. And you can't function as a creator without understanding how to like turn it into like an actual income, So combine the two, and then you've got the key for.
It's true, and it's crazy. Like, one of the things that we are starting to do now is we're starting to find smaller businesses and brands that have the hyper creative aspect of it, because there's so many beautiful brands out there, but they don't even know all these small things. But I know that if people, even if a business owner took your course, or someone who is a hyper creative that started a brand, and they took and some of the elements and the strategies that you have in your course, even the ads aspect.
It's so funny. I've had like marketers jump into my course and they're like, "Yo, I've taken like 30 courses on marketing and like none of them jump into the stuff that you're teaching here." You know, and this isn't even like a marketing course. This is like
it's crazy. Yeah. It's crazy. But I think that what it comes down to is truth. Yeah. It's like truth. There's so much noise out there. There's so much BS out there. And when you create content and when you create strategy that actually works, it resonates with so many people. Yeah. So dude, it's so cool. We're going to have you on the podcast again. Thank you so much. Is there anything that you want to tell, if there's someone listening to this somewhere in the world, maybe in the future, maybe right now in a few days, what they need to hear something from you and what you're going to tell them will connect with them. What is one thing that you want to leave with them? It's a lot of pressure, but what is one thing that you want to tell this person?
If you have like one idea in your head that you're thinking about and you're not sure if you can do it, you're going to regret it for the rest of your life if you don't go ahead and give it a shot. So, you know, just think about what you have to lose. Most of the time it's not that much. You know, worst case scenario, like I said, you'll end up back at square one, but what you have to gain is so much more. So I think it's worth the risk, and you should just go ahead and take that first little jump, and you'll realize it's not that big of a deal.
All right, guys, from Julian himself, it's not that big of a deal. Just go ahead and do it. Thanks, man, for coming on to the podcast.
Yeah, glad to do it, man.
All right, we'll have you back on. Guys, I hope that brought some value into your life. We don't run any advertisement on this. We have Mr. P sponsored. Have you had these? Mr. P sponsored. But listen, if this brought value into your life, all I ask is for you to share it with a creative person, to share it with a business person, anybody that this could possibly inspire and help. That being said, guys, I hope you have an amazing day, a powerful day. Oh, and if it's your birthday, happy birthday. See you guys later. Bye-bye.
Peace.
What's up?
I'm so sorry, Les.
What do you mean?
I see all these people traveling the world doing whatever the fuck they want, and I feel like I'm so stuck. But I know I can do it, I just don't know how.
I'm facing back to front, over my shoulder at the sun. And it's an open door, and off my line of sight once more.